We are
Hello.
live. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hi everyone. We're back with our tea times. We haven't had a tea time for
Yeah,
a couple weeks now.
taking a bit of a hiatus, not planned, but we're
Yeah,
back.
it was just like stuff came up, just crazy scheduling. We would have them tea time scheduled, and then the other half of it is that we're just so fatigued with technology.
So tired. I'm so tired of everything. Social media, video calls, like
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of screen time. So yeah, if you guys are watching and you also are feeling technology fatigue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and give us a little hands up if you're feeling technology fatigue. But Niaz and we took a little unplanned break from tea time because yeah, we're just exhausted from the screens. But we
truly.
were talking about too, just the things that we are doing instead with our time, the things we're doing to recharge.
Hmm.
This month in our Canary Club, Nias did an amazing review of some blue blocking glasses.
One's right here.
So I always thought she wore glasses, and I come to find out she wears blue blocking glasses for the blue light. And I think she's done a little bit of research, and she did a whole review for our members about the benefits of that one and why blue light
Hmm.
is not good for you. So if you want to check that out, you can still get it this month. You can join the club at the link there. But anyways, if we're just kind of like really getting fatigued from staring at screens and scrolling social media, so we're trying to find ways to recharge that
Yeah.
are still kind of they work for us in this time. So if
We
you
are
guys are
going out of town this weekend too, so that's like the perfect way to recharge.
yeah, definitely. So what are some things that you've been doing to
So I
get
just
off the
got an infrared sauna blanket, which, if we're gonna talk highs and lows, that is like the highest. That's just it's also like it's called higher dose on the blanket itself. It says get high on it. It's a dream. So I actually used it for the first time last night, and I laid in it for like 45 minutes, and it was heavenly. So I'm planning on doing
screen?
that again tonight. Um, Yeah, it's great. It's like super easy to clean. It's really easy to use, and you just like put it on top of a yoga mat, like something that's like, can resist the heat, and you just lay in it, put some headphones in, good to
We were
go.
talking about this because normally you're pretty like heat intolerant. You don't like
Yeah.
the heat wave that's happening right now in California.
No, I that's the thing. Like, I like controlled heat, so if I know that it's happening, then like I'm good and I'm prepared for it.
Yeah, well, infrared heat is kind of different too. Like
It's
if you
different too.
guys
Yeah.
haven't experienced infrared saunas, infrared heat, I know it's kind of like a buzzword and people are like, oh yeah, I've been in a sauna before, but an infrared sauna feels really different.
Yeah.
And it's actually part of what we naturally experience and feel when we're out in the sun and we're just kind of like on a nice, having a picnic outside or on a nice
Hmm.
sunny day. The sun is emitting UV rays, which we're all very familiar with because they're the ones that make us tan. So when we wear sunscreen, we try to block the UVs, but they're also the ones that can have health problems like cancer, skin cancer issues, and sunspots. So that's part of the sun. The light that we're experiencing from the sun is the UV rays, but we're also actually getting infrared waves from the sun. So when you're in an infrared sauna or an infrared blanket, like Niaz is talking about, it's isolating just the infrared waves. And so it has that like really cozy feeling of being out in the sun on a really pleasant day without the UV problems.
Hmm.
And I guess I love it. I love any heat in general, but I even you who doesn't like, the people, and we always talk about this, the Hashis people and the Graves people. Like, generally, the Hashimoto's people love heat because we're just cold most of the
All the
time.
time.
And Graves people usually they don't like heat, right? Like you like it
No.
cooler.
We're always running hot. And I'm also triple fire sign too. And then I'm also Pitta. So I'm just like all fire across the board. But no, infrared, it's kind of like when you lay in the sun and you feel like the sun has just like melted into your skin and you
Yeah.
get like those goosebumps. Like, that's what an infrared feels like. It's kind of funny because I had my mom try it also yesterday. And after like 45 minutes, I'm like, okay, how do you feel? She's like, well, I didn't sweat. And I'm like, it's a different kind of heat. So I had to like
Yeah.
explain to her, like, you may not necessarily like drenched, but this is what it's doing. It's just like, oh, okay.
It's kind of like a hug to me. Like it's like that really
Yeah.
cozy, warm feeling. But
Mhm.
I think also with the infrared sauna that we have at our clinic in our house,
Mm.
a lot of times they talk about like the first couple sessions, you don't really sweat that much, but
Mhm.
as you use it more and more, your body acclimates and you sweat. So that was a good way to get off. I hung out with my parents this weekend and we made little gelatin cups,
Oh,
which I'm
cute.
snacking on right now. And I was actually thinking this is I'll do this recipe soon in the Mind Body Club.
Yeah.
But we have here in Berkeley in Northern California, there's this really amazing food prep place called Three Stone Hearth. And it's like they follow Weston A. Price's food, kind of like primal food, whatever. Like they'll just make really healthy things that are like bone brothy or have a lot of like
Oh.
fermented ingredients. And they're just all prepped foods in mason jars. And they had these things called these gelatinas, which were my favorite thing there. But they sell like a little jar of this for like $12. And I was
Oh
like,
my
crazy.
God.
So I started experimenting and looking for recipes. So this one that we made is a lemon gelatina.
Ooh.
And you can't have this one, but it's a coconut cream.
Okay.
I know you don't eat coconut, but for people who do eat coconut, it's a coconut cream gelatina layer on top. So it's like we got the tart lemon on the bottom, and you can make it with lime. But there's also other flavors that we've had before from this place that I'm going to recreate. The hibiscus flavor, and they actually have a chai tea one. So there's like a clear chai tea blend on the bottom, and then there's like the milk, the coconut milk. But I guess you could do it with oat milk or almond milk, and you make them all into a gelatina. And then you combine them, and then you have this like very healthy gelatin collagen jello.
Oh yeah, the consistency is like a jello, but it looks thicker than a jello.
Yeah, I've made it before and I've really messed up the ratio where it was like hard and just really unpleasant. So me and my mom experimented with it this weekend and found a really nice balance. So
I'm excited for this recipe.
That was fun. That was something I did that was off of technology screens. But yeah, it was really good to just kind of get away from my cell phone, from, I don't know, like just the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are feeling that too, let us know what you're doing to kind of beat the technology fatigue. Because I don't know, how many months are we into?
7.
7 months into modified, I know every state is different and everybody's kind of with their work situation is different, but we're still pretty much in full on lockdown here in Northern California. We've been doing some takeout food like occasionally, but we don't really go out much. We work from home. So let us know where you guys are watching from and if you're kind of still staying at home or if you're going out like much. Because I'm curious what people are doing around the country, around the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing. And then next week, my husband and I are going RV camping.
So fun.
So we have, hello, mom. Mom's watching here.
Oh, hi, Mom.
We got people. So let us know where you're watching from. And if you guys are still like sheltered in place, if you're at home. But yeah, my husband and I we got a little camper. We rented a little camper RV and I think we're going to go up to Oregon, which I have not explored yet.
Oh, I thought you've been before.
We've been to like Portland maybe twice, but it was like a hotel stay for a conference. But I haven't explored the nature in Oregon, which I know is supposed to be really beautiful. So we're doing that for a week.
So fun.
Yeah, if anybody watching has any suggestions of where to check out in Oregon, like the coast or Central Oregon, I know a lot of different recommendations have come through friends. So that's something I'm going to reset next week.
The perfect way to reset is to just get back into nature. Yeah. Couldn't be doing it any better.
So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, I think part of it is that people are having a hard time not socializing, like actually physically being around people for the technology fatigue. Neeyaz kind of touched on that, the fact that there's a lot of blue light coming from our screens. And I think the fact that there's just like constantly things to see and do on the internet is something that has always been an issue that has caused people technology fatigue, but in particular now that we all live on our phones. On the internet, It's just, I don't know, at least that's how I feel. I feel like there's this never ending list of to-dos or emails or DMs to respond to. And it can really, I think, wear on mental health and stress. Like it's just like this feeling of, it's not fight or flight, but this just like, oh, I'm missing out like something that I haven't done, or this stress around it.
Yeah. That fear of missing out and endless scrolling and the mindlessness behind it, which we all fall into. I know I did today for like a solid hour.
Have you ever tried to just like digitally detox where you delete?
Oh yeah, I've done like a solid month before, which was so great. I'm definitely going to do that again, probably the end of this year.
What did you do? Did you just delete your apps, or did you deactivate them, or how did you go about
I didn't deactivate it because I did it once where I deactivated and then I forgot my password, and then it was like a mess of trying to get it back on, and it kind of gave me anxiety thinking like I lost my entire profile. So I once had somebody, I think probably like a friend or whatever, like change my password so that if I was ever like tempted to re-download the app, like I couldn't actually log on. But I'm pretty good. Like once the app is gone, then once the app is deleted, then I'm like pretty good about not checking it. So
sometimes it's just an unconscious motor thing where I open up my phone and I just like go through and I click on the same spot where that app is, even though I don't actually want to be looking.
Interesting.
At Instagram. It's just like this, it's almost like a tick where I'm just like, oh, I have a minute, and I go and I look at it. So I think removing the app is something that creates a pattern interrupt where you have to like consciously think about going in and scrolling or looking at this stuff.
Totally.
I think I was going to say I think, I love memes. I love meme jokes, but I think there's a meme that's something like, I want a vacation long enough where I forget all of my passwords.
Oh, that would be a dream.
So yeah, if you forgot your password, that's probably a good sign that you digitally detoxed enough.
We have so many passwords to memorize, like so many numbers to memorize. So, I mean, even yesterday I was renewing my license because I got a notice that my license is expiring in December, and it was asking me like, if you want to do the Real ID, it's a totally different application. So I like went to do the Real ID in anticipation that I'm traveling, and it was like social security number, driver's license number, this number, and I'm like, like just immediately, like it's crazy how many numbers we memorize. I was like,
do you just have it memorized, or do you actually keep it on the spreadsheet?
No, I have it memorized.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
I have a notes where I have like all my passwords just in case I ever forget something, but I have most of them memorized. If not, they're like fairly close to each other that I can like guess before it locks me out.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a thing too. I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's this thing called digital dementia that's actually like a legitimate thing in the healthcare world now, where they're actually looking at the fact that since we have so much technology at our fingertips, they're noticing the way that it's changing our brain in kind of a dementia sort of way, where people in the past used to use their brain to remember phone numbers or I mean, in particular, I think there was some studies done around GPS and navigation and how people would, used to have to like look up directions and remember navigation. And that type of like spatial navigation and memory is stored in our hippocampus, which is another really important part for memory storage. And one of the places that we see shrink and have atrophy when people start having cognitive issues, dementia, kind of like cognitive decline in that way. And so what they found was that the fact that we're like dependent on GPS now is causing those areas of our brain to not be as active and shrink a little. So they've actually labeled it as digital dementia. So I was driving with my mom yesterday. Actually, we went and just like picked up some stuff, and we moved to a pretty new area, city, and neighborhood. And we haven't been here that long, but she was just like, wow, you don't use GPS anymore. Like you can actually navigate your way through the city. And I was like, yeah, I actually really enjoy the feeling of creating mental maps of areas. But that's actually a good, I don't know, I don't like to use the word hack, but that's something that you can do for yourself to help kind of exercise your brain and combat things like digital dementia or any of this like fatigue that you're getting from just looking stuff up all the time. Is try to pay attention to where you walk or drive and try not to look at your GPS on the way back or the next time you go there,
Yeah.
and see how well, like kind of challenge yourself and see how well you remembered it. And you just do it as like a test or whatever. And you can always go back and plug it back into your GPS, but see how well, if you just go on a route once, if you can remember landmarks or turns that you made, just to challenge yourself a little. Because how are you with that? Are you good with navigation?
I'm pretty good with navigation. I think in the years that I lived in New York, where you would get off like a subway stop and not know where in God's name you were, I didn't use Google Maps to like navigate myself back. So I'm like, okay, that cafe, and then like, okay, that street. Like exactly like you were saying, like you remember landmarks and things, and then on the way back, you just kind of work at it backwards. But yeah, I'm pretty good at that. And I even like I've traveled abroad too and not been dependent on Google Maps. We just navigate around as much as we can. I've gotten lost in like Italy. I've gotten lost in Africa. I've gotten all over.
Just travel
it out. And if you were like absolutely cannot figure it out, you can ask somebody or just check your Google Maps and then you'll find it. So
I think that's one of the best reasons to leave a little early when you have to go somewhere, or like actually give yourself the opportunity to get lost and find your way, because these are some of the powerful ways that our brains have adapted to actually grow and remember stuff. And they can be really healing as well, in that we're activating parts of our brain that are really important for other purposes too. But they find that people who are good, like spatial navigation, like kind of that GPS navigation, are actually really good storytellers too. So
look at that.
My husband and I, we talk about this too, and we just think it's a really interesting concept that the hippocampus has a lot to do with both storytelling and navigation. Because, you know, prior, like back in the day, we didn't have the written word, we didn't have GPS, we had oral tradition, right? So a lot of how people learned to navigate space was through storytelling. And think about that in terms of like, you talk about, oh, I was here and then I walked past this thing, and you kind of tell the story to remember. It has a similar impact on those areas that get activated in our brain. So if you're terrible at storytelling or you're terrible at physical like navigation, try practicing either one of those, and you're activating the same part of your brain. So
I love that.
Yeah, that's actually a really great way to combat that digital dementia and to combat technology fatigue, because these are ways that feel very physical and tangible to our brain and our body, is you know, either physically navigating a space or actually just telling a story and tracking it through kind of a mental map of how it happened chronologically.
So are you and Titus gonna travel without a map next week?
I actually I love it. He's terrible at navigation. Like I always try to test them. He's always like, okay, which way do we go? And he always goes left. And I go, nope, it's right. It's like always the opposite, which might be his opposite intuition. He just needs to listen.
There you go.
But I love finding kind of the direction we go. And when we travel, one of the things we love to do is get lost. So we like to not just have it all planned out, which is, you know, really great when you're on the road and you have a RV or a car, because you're not just like going from point A to point B, or like you said, when you go to countries or travel to places that are pedestrian friendly, you can just walk and you'll end up somewhere.
You'll find something.
So I think that like it's been really interesting too, because I also really like storytelling. And I think that it is a very interesting thing to think about the physical aspects of navigating a space, and also the mental aspects of navigating a story and knowing when to make the right stops and you know, remember those things. But people, I think, navigate differently. Do you say you remember landmarks, or are you more of like remember street names and left, right?
Oh, no. I don't remember street names. Definitely landmarks. Yeah.
Landmarks. I think there's landmarks, and then there's like actual instructions, like street names. And then there's a third type, which is like kinesthetic, where you actually remember it felt like, oh, I like turned this way. And
interesting. I think, yes, kind of the third one, but it depends on if it was a very unique turn, if it was like loop around this way, and then you see that cafe. Like, I guess it kind of marries together, but I'm definitely more of a landmark person. I'm
landmarky, but I'm also very kinesthetic. And I think I learned from some friends in Brazil that like us in the United States, we're very into cardinal directions. So we're always like, oh, you go north, like go north of whatever, like Broadway, or
Oh,
we
okay.
talk a lot about north, south, east, west.
Right.
Apparently not all countries or cultures orient that way, which
Huh.
is really interesting to me when you think about that, because that means we have to have a really good sense of like a bird's eye view to understand north, south, or orientation to the sun, like the sun's rising on this side.
Right. So how do they do it in Brazil?
I don't remember how they said. I think it's more just like maybe left and right. I don't remember what she said, but I remember giving instructions or saying like, oh, that restaurant's like north of this street or north of the library. And they were just like, this is such a weird thing. I don't want to generalize and say it was Brazil. Maybe it was just my friends, but I feel like they made a comment about how people in the United States really orient that way, and that was just unusual to them. So I had never thought of any other way of orienting.
Yeah, I don't know of any other way. That's so interesting.
But yeah, I'm very into cardinal directions, which is why I think, like you said, when you get off on a subway stop, you're just like,
oh God,
which direction am I in right now? It's very disorienting.
No, totally confusing. Always confusing.
Yeah, but I think, these are things that are really important that we have to think about when we're on computers and phones all the time, because we're losing that sense of how we fit in spatially.
Yeah.
In our maps, but also when we think about like where the sun rises and how we're oriented to space. So
that's why I am such a huge proponent, and for me it's really important that I'm not on my phone until at least like 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm up at like 5:36, because I don't want to like draw to my phone the first thing that I wake up in the morning, because as soon as that happens, it's just a spiral of like relentless scrolling, and then I get distracted. I'd rather get up in the morning and actually do something outside of technology for a few hours, like read a book, go out for a walk, do my workout. And then when I'm like oriented, then it's a mindful decision for me to be like, okay, I need to check and pick up my phone and do what I need to do. So
I think that's one of the simplest, but one of the most powerful tricks or tips that you can do if you're feeling fatigued by Zoom calls or social media or whatnot, is just those very clear boundaries. And time is a really great one, because sometimes it's hard for us to be like, okay, I've had enough scrolling.
Right.
Just emotionally, like if we're, we might just keep doing it. But I think setting, like you said, a morning time where you absolutely don't touch your laptop or anything and technology, and you just have like a boundary that way. So I think that's one of the easiest, but also one of the most powerful ways of actually implementing kind of a digital detox, is that type.
Do you have a good boundary with your?
I've gotten better about it. I mean, I think maybe also because I'm just so fatigued by it, where it's not really how I don't know, maybe I still just don't get that much pleasure out of it.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe it was really just reorienting with what matters to me internally. Because I wouldn't say that I don't, like I set hours where I'm like after 7 p.m. I don't look at my phone. But I think that what happened was I really reoriented with how I felt internally and like what mattered, and like spending time with family or spending time with myself. I think alone time is really important.
Very.
And just like imagination time. Yeah. So I think with that happening, with that orientation with what's important to me, the draw to distract myself with scrolling, or I don't know, I don't get much pleasure looking at anything online. So I don't really spend that much time. I think it came from this much more intrinsic place than like a time boundary that I set. And I think it actually feels really good to like not be interested in just.
I mean, you haven't been on in what, 4 days now?
At least. I mean, even just checking, because I mean, I just get tons of DMs every day. I get emails, I get, likes or comments, and I like to be engaged with people, but it's like I want to do that in a much more intentional way.
Absolutely.
And we had those of you who are not part of the Mind Body Club, we had a really cool event this weekend.
We did. I forgot that was. My God, this weekend feels like
I know that was 2 days
forever ago. It's 2 days ago.
So what happened was, in our Mind Body Club, we are always talking to our members about like what they're getting the most value out of and what they'd love to do more of. And one thing they requested was just like more gatherings with other people like us. So we did this thing called a flock gathering where we just did like, it was just like a very casual Zoom call. Cause normally it's Neeyaz and I teaching stuff like that. So we're the ones on video, but we did a round table with everybody, like not everybody, but a lot of people who joined. And yeah, it was just really nice.
Lovely.
It wasn't about consuming information. It wasn't about broadcasting or putting out content in terms of technology. And it wasn't this like transactional exchange, right? It was more just being with a group of other people and sharing some stories or sharing some vulnerabilities or even sharing some things that aren't that perfect mask of our life. So that was really sweet. We did a flock gathering and we're going to do it again next month. So yeah, if that's something that sounds interesting. And what was really funny, we actually did a little vote, a show of hands. Everybody on the video call was an introvert.
Oh yeah, that was really funny.
I think we're both introverts, right? But we chat with each other. But people got on the call and they're like, oh, I'm not used to talking. I'm really introverted. And we just found that we have kind of this group of very social introverts who really value deep connections. So I think that was valuable to kind of, yeah. So that was a nice high of this week. But yeah, we just wanted to kind of check in with our crew here. I know there's been a lot of people coming in and watching. I see all the eyeballs on the live video, but they're not leaving comments. So we got some shy introverts here today.
Oh, sweet. Well, you can always leave a comment later and we can read them and respond. So
yeah, and let us know what you're doing to kind of get over your fatigue of being on the computer, being on technology, and let us know other ideas for how you can digitally detox and recharge your battery.
Rest and renew.
Yeah, and then this month too, we're having a friends promo. So if you and a friend join the Mind Body Club together, you each get it 50% off for a lifetime membership. So that's in the comments, and we'd love to see you at our next flock gathering or our flock gathering, our monthly member call. We have recipes like this little gelatina.
Can you share on with the chai one? If you can do the chai one,
I will.
Oh, I love chai.
Chai gelatina with our whatever milk on top gelatina you want. Perfect. So we got recipes in there. We got blue blocking glasses review.
Yep. So this one's here.
Just jam-packed. We've been putting a lot more energy there. So join us in the Mind Body Club. Join with a friend and get 50% off lifetime membership.
Lifetime. Amazing.
Yeah. The link is in the comments and the promo code is FRIEND. So until next time, Neeyaz and I.
Take care, everybody. Rest well.
Bye.